Aloha Pau. This is Kai Opua Fife with the Puani Foundation, bringing you another segment of Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's future. We're very pleased to have with us Elithe, who will introduce herself and be spending the next 28 minutes telling us what she does to make for a better future for Hawaii.
My work is primarily spiritual. My goal is to help heal the nation by introducing spirituality concepts and ideas that once existed here a long time ago, pre-Tahitian. No 4,000 gods, no class differentiation system, just one God and a one-to-one arrangement between you and that particular eternal parent. The old name for that eternal parent is Au Makua Maulua. And referring, of course, to the inner essence of who we are, i'o, which is soul, and working from that point on out. I have enjoyed a successful experience with my book called Ha Breath, and in it I teach Hawaiian meditation and also introduce people at a ground level to this one-on-one spirituality and concept and idea, and also bring forth different theories that we've had and used, considering numbers of 4s and 8s being very sacred, 4s being mortal, 8 being immortality, and combining all of these different theories together and showing the younger generation what we've had previously before Christianity came and threw us into what I refer to as a spiritual stupor. And of course, when you're sandwiched between a Western concept of spirituality, a Tahitian concept of 40,000 gods, and a one God theory which existed prior to, it can throw huge confusion into one's spiritual personality. And when it comes to healing a nation, if we don't heal that part of us first, we can't really move forward. It's just like a lion having a thorn in its paw. It'd be grumpy, it's painful, it's a terrible experience, and there's no way you're going to see the lion in its best stead until that healing takes place, till that thorn is pulled out. So I come from not an aggressive, active rebel. I come from more of the passive generation where we can heal before we come forth and show the better sides of who we are.
Yeah, from the inside out, huh?
Yeah, from inside out.
Well, let me ask you, how did you wind up in this this discipline or this area of responsibility? Tell us a little bit about how you got to be who you are today and how this all evolved. I mean, you probably studied with perhaps different people or looked at different concepts, and I don't know. Why don't you explain what the process has been for you as to how you got to where you are today?
Well, we would go back to, at the time of my birth, there's a thing called ho'ailona, where signs are given to your ardent parents if you can really watch carefully. And this was something Kupuna knew way back when. And I was born with an amazing amount of 4s in my birth chart, my Holani chart. We have
4s.
moons.
You say 4s?
4s.
Yeah.
For instance, I was born on the oldest island of Kauai, 4 minutes to 4 in the morning, in the 4th district of Kauai, in the year of 1944. And it goes on and on and on, all these 4s. When you have that many 4s, that means someday you end up teaching spiritual work. You'll be a rainbow into the 4s and 8s. So you want to take a look at other people that have 8s, and they work from that side over to this, and back and forth that way. But at that time, very young, Kolohe was I in my youth, and I wasn't ready for that spiritual introduction to bring it forth. But as the years went by, I always adhered to one thing which we called the rule, the golden rule, aloha kako, a'ole pilikia, love all, traguna. And so I've sat by on the wave side for years and years and years and just watched what was going on and watched the deterioration of our nation, our culture, our people. And said, oh well, it's because they're not adhering to this rule. And then it hit me, no one's teaching this stuff. No one is explaining to them anymore. have a nation that have been thoroughly divided, not only religiously and spiritually, but family-wise too, broken families all over. So none of this cultural thing is getting to them. And as I sat back, I said, I am the problem. I'm a problem. I have not been able to give off the information that I was given. And so
Or
now,
not sharing.
I have the time, and I'm going to put that time in order to help people to help themselves to get out of this barrel of crabs and get up and become totally responsible for who we are, to stop being so enabled because of Western concepts and ideas and free handouts. And we were so self-sufficient way back then, there's no reason why we can't be anymore. And the intelligence of our people is tremendous. I mean, what race can you think of within a 10, 15-year time period can learn another language and read it upside down and backwards? And, you know, and that's what we had. So that tells you how powerfully intelligent the native Kanakamo'oli is.
Well, you know, in that direction, there was some interesting things that I've read, and relating to the ability of the Kanaka upon introduction to Western ways to adapt and learn. For instance, like reading, and some of the things that I read about was prior to the Western impact on us, the mind was, you know, I likened it the other day to, like, at that point in time, back prehistoric, our computers were our minds. And there were some people who had particular responsibilities. Could have been the ones who remembered the histories, you know, the genealogies, the oral communications. And I thought, yeah, wow, well, that's what we actually made more full use of our computers, our brains at that time. And then when the Westerners came and they brought this written word in a different language, it was the ability that we had already had and developed to memorize and remember and recall things and to remember them exactly. That I think what happened with the first interchanges were our people essentially memorized. So, and it recalls when my grandchildren were still, you know, hold them like this. I started reading to them, and I read the same books over and over. I mean, from front to back, everything from the name of the publisher, you know, to the copyright numbers, all the way through from the time they could just barely sit up. And then as I got older, then I started changing the stories that I was reading, and they would correct me. Because essentially they had memorized those stories already. And I think the early introduction with this foreign language and word was actually an exercise in memorization. That's what I think.
At first, as I got older and was matured enough to carry the mantle, so to speak, in the family, I was starting to have dreams in Hawaiian. And I didn't understand a single thing that was giving to me nothing. I said, what is this? I need to know what it is.
Did you understand?
No, because in my family was, don't speak Hawaiian.
Right.
You never get ahead, only English.
But I mean, when you dreamt in Hawaiian, did you understand what was happening?
No. That forced me to get educated. That forced me to get back into the system of education. I only, up until that time, in my before I was just around 40, I was just a high school graduate.
Okay.
Much like the rest of the nation, right?
Yeah.
Never got there.
Yeah.
But because of this, it forced me. So once I realized what that was doing for me, and now I was I took language classes. Couldn't get the Japanese. I mean, that was a big thing. The classes were full.
Right.
The only thing open was Hawaiian language. So
And when was this time-wise?
this was back in the when did I start that? In the 70s.
70s.
Yeah. So through the 70s, learned the Hawaiian language. Then, as the dreams were coming, we're able to translate this stuff out. And I said, oh, okay. Now I'm getting more interested in the spirituality of things. The signs are always there. Greatest, most valuable thing to me in school was having A's in what? Religion. And for me, that was the big thing.
That was important.
That was very important. I always had them. Raised as a staunch Catholic, hellfire and damnation. It took me a long time to take that cloak off and to realize that I wasn't that cloak, that I wasn't my body, that I wasn't a female, I wasn't Hawaiian. I was just soul having an earthly experience. And once I was able to grasp the fact that I was soul, all of the pain and anguish that I experienced being so-called victimized by the system disappeared.
It kind of peels off the labels, huh?
Totally came off. Totally disappeared. Now I hold myself personally responsible for everything that happens in my life because it is me working with soul to bring forth the goodness that I have as a person. So for me, the most important thing is to show Kanaka Maoli how to realize how to take off that cloak, rusted thing that we have on our bodies, and become pure essence of soul again as we were. We were children of light, always have been. And our job was to awaken everybody else to this spirituality.
So it's kind of like you've got to be able to take responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
Get beyond the labels and rise above the maybe some of the poor self-images we might have.
Absolutely. And all of these self-images, are just induced on us because we accepted Western concepts and ideas as our mores. And not realizing that this is what is actually disrupting our wonderful spiritual flow. And once we, I'm not saying, hey, throw away the English language. There, we can do the good Haole, bad Haole thing, right? Well, what can the Haole? Oh, the Haole, they came and they took our country and we taught us how to pray. We looked down and we go, woe is me. And then on the other hand, we need to look at the Caucasian as being the catalyst in our lives. If we really study our history, we realize that it was the Caucasian, the Haole, that helped unite the Hawaiian Islands. If it wasn't for these two Haole guys who had ships and guns, we would still be an island all off into itself as a different nation.
Yeah, who knows? I mean,
that's history.
That's what happened, and
that's
so
what
we can look at it from that direction.
Because we can look at the Bishop Museum. He had a choice when Bernice died, and he decided to donate everything to the preservation of the Hawaiian culture by putting this museum up as a monument to his wife. But so that's the good side of the Caucasian. And then, of course, we all know the bad side. We don't have to run that through. But I believe there's goodness in everything. There's good and bad in us all. And we just need to don't sweat it and just let it roll off our backs like water on a tea leaf and move on.
Get over it?
Get over it. It's just ugly souls. It's not an ugly Haole or mean Kanaka. No, it's none of that. It's individual that we need to look at and realize that that's their extent of growth right now. And they're children in their spiritual growth, and it might take them a little while to get it. And what we need to do is develop patience and more patience in order to help them out.
Well, of course, some people might say that we've been patient to a fault almost, but I think it does take some impetus to make a change in the way that we've traditionally done things. I think probably when the Westerners arrived, our society was actually a pretty productive society. It had an order to it. I think we can be proud of a lot of the characteristics. But clearly that impact from the outside was a terrific jolt. And although there probably were a lot of good things that may eventually have come out of it, essentially we wound up with several generations who were, even yet today, still reeling, from the disconnection from what had traditionally been ours. But what you're saying is that you're actually returning to some of those characteristics or those processes.
A lot of that went hidden because of the missionaries outlawing a lot of Hawaiian traditions, spiritual concepts and ideas there. Yeah. And,
But I mean,
yeah.
actually reinforces that there were some good things that existed in our traditional
Oh.
ways of doing things in our
Oh.
culture.
I think the
So forth.
whole world is Hawaiian.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
got beautiful, beautiful traditions and stuff. And these are the things that we need to remember because we've lost the remembrance of it, and to bring it back up and out. And,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
there's so many pockets of it coming now out from families that's had it buried in their system for a while, and they're beginning to expose it, and that's wonderful. I'm looking forward to meeting different people who can do these things and bring it, and maybe come together and help heal the nation in that respect.
So you dedicated yourself to studying
Yes.
after being away from school for a long time, and then came back to it. And you followed a course of study, which you mentioned Hawaiian language,
Oh, and
Which-
then,
which enabled you to interpret your dreams, I guess.
interpret what was being said, yeah. Then I was looking for the spiritual concepts and ideas within the language, because it's always there. It's in the language and it's buried. But in order to understand what we have, I needed to study more religious concepts and ideas from other cultures.
Okay, sure.
So it took me about 2 years to find an accredited college in the mainland, Birmingham, Alabama, of all the places, that could afford me that and teach me that. And so spent 3 years doing that. And finally wrote a thesis concerning Hawaiian spirituality. Because now, knowing the language, I was able to come home, go through our chants, go through the kumulipo and the songs and all of that, and discover what we had and match it up with the rest of spiritual concepts and ideas throughout the world. And it was amazing, the
So
things that
was it
we
like
found.
a kind of a comparative religion type of study, I think?
Yeah. And it was amazing of how much and how powerful the things that we have in our culture. For instance, lumi vavai, which is the massaging of the feet. No big deal. All of a sudden, somebody comes up with a big word called reflexology. Right?
Reflexology.
Reflexology.
Yeah, okay.
But lumi vavai, we go, so we had that forever.
Yeah,
We
right.
just massage the feet.
Right.
But we have 5 components in that type of massage work that is so unique and so powerful. It is amazing. When you do the lapea, which is the Southern Cross, and you're crossing right over left, it looks like a number 4, an ancient number 4. And then when the therapists are holding their legs, she completes the circle and it looks like an 8. Then what happens, mana shoots up through her hands, or his hands, up into the person's body, just by knowing that old legend. And the legend talks about Hawaii Loa, who's a great navigator, and he runs around the Pacific Ocean with Makali'i, who's a mysterious navigator, celestial being from who knows where. So they're out in the Pacific Ocean, somewhere down South Pacific, because they get caught in a real bad storm that lasted about a couple of weeks. And Hawaii Loa catches cold. He gets very sick. Now Makali'i, seeing that Hawaii Loa is close to dying, performs this la'apea, the Southern Cross. He starts to chant in a hanaia kamalama, calling upon the Southern Cross, looking up in the sky and mirroring the image, crossing the feet right over left. And immediately Hawaii Loa feels of mana shooting up his legs into his body, up to his heart. And he says, oh, truly a gift from the gods. And Makali'i tells him, yes, so share with your people and everybody that you meet. Now, we've had that in our culture forever, but we drift away, nobody does it. The younger generation prefers, the big thing is lomi the body, so we don't pay much attention to the feet as we used to way back when. We also have a thing called opuhuli, which was actually opu ma'e.
Yeah.
But we don't do that either. It's more, slough over the organs and move on. But you
Yeah,
got
I've been fortunate to hear a lot of these techniques, only because we get to meet people who are doing these things,
Yeah.
And so it's not foreign to me or something that I can't relate to. And I hope a lot of the people who are listening are paying attention to it, because those are like the finer points. Everybody knows what lomi is, but there's so much to it, areas of concentration. Now you got yourself educated.
Mm-hmm.
And so how have you made use of this education?
Well, once I started to discover the pearls within our culture,
Right.
I started an aggressive policy of forcing myself to write.
Okay.
And so Ha Breath was one. The first book was Hawaiian Spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
which it was actually my thesis, so I had to have it printed.
Oh, cool.
So we did that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Ha Breath because I wanted to bring in and show people the intent is everything. And in Ha Breath, you'll learn that. There's also some chants in there, especially one, Makahi Kinae, in which you can thoroughly cleanse your pirikino, your spiritual body, of all the negative dross and thought patterns that you've put into it. So you want to stop it from coming into the body, because when
Yeah.
it comes into the body, it manifests.
Yeah.
So if you take a spiritual shower every day by chanting this chant, you stop that negative process.
Cool, I believe that. I think that's a good way to start the day.
And yeah, oh, it's lovely. So it's in there. It's in that book. So I give that to, give it back to the people.
So that you had the writing, and then are you actually a practitioner, essentially? Do you have people who come to you for help, or do you go to
Oh,
people
yeah.
to help? Okay. So what we're going to do is run a banner or credits across the screen so that people can see, you know, who you are, how to get in touch with you. Maybe they want to read your book, because people are always, I think people are always in need of healing. We all are, all the time. And hopefully our little discussion can encourage some of those at home to maybe open up a book, you know, get started. This winds up our segment for today, unfortunately, but I think we're probably going to be getting together another time.
Okay.
And we'd like to welcome you folks to continue to tune in to Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's Future. This is Kaiopua Fife with the Kiwani Foundation, and you're seeing a product of the Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network. Until next time, ahui ho, aloha.
Mahalo for watching Voices of Truth one-on-one with Hawaii's Future. Watch us on the web 24/7 at voicesoftruth.tv.com. You'll find all our shows, including this one, in case you want to see it again or share it with family and friends. Also view our weekly video commentaries at freehawaiitv.com. And check out our blog, published daily, at freehawaii.info. It's all part of the Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network.